Okay.
He is now streaming live. Yep, good to go. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Long Middle School's Go Team meeting, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present are here quietly to observe. For members of the Go Team, please identify yourself when you speak. I'm pleased to call this meeting of the Crawford Long Middle School Go Team to order at 5:30 p.m. Our first order of business is roll call. The secretary will take care of the roll.
Please say present when I say your name. Carla Mccall.
Present.
Jameson Murphy.
Present.
Natasha Hall.
Ms. Hall. I see her on the
Yeah.
screen.
We'll come back to her. Kenya Boston.
Present.
Andrea Pendergrass. Andrea, excuse me. Am I calling everybody that's in? I'm calling everybody that's on my roll, or everybody that I see present.
You're calling everybody on the roll.
Okay, I'm sorry, excuse me. I apologize. Veronica Cullum.
Present.
Chandra Vaughn. Okay, she's absent. Star Clark. Okay, I don't want to. I always mess up this name. Senabu G. Okay. All right. Dr. White.
Present.
Thank you. Did I miss anybody?
The parents.
I'm sorry. I only have Star Clark is not present. Please tell me the name of the other parent. I don't have it here.
Veronica Cologne.
I said her name.
You called her.
Yes, I did.
Oh, then I apologize.
Is there anybody named that I didn't call? Okay.
The team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Ms. Kruger, is a quorum present?
Yes, a quorum is present.
Great. If there's a quorum present, proceed to the, all right. So now we're going to proceed to the action items. The action items, as they are notated on the agenda, are, go to it real quick, are approval of the agenda and approval of the previous minutes. And then the other one will be, optional school. Action item will be, that's kind of confusing. All right, for right now, the approval of the agenda and approval of the previous minutes. Those are the action items that we'll be reviewing right now. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you and copies are there any changes to the agenda? Does everyone have a copy of the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Are you able to place a link in the chat, Miss Kruger?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, what I can do is let me just
Do I need to stop sharing so you can share the agenda?
Yeah, that's what I was about going to say. Yeah. Yep, so let me download it one good time. Let me just open it up. And then I'll show the agenda. I'll share my screen. All right, video. Share. Oh, can you turn on my privilege to share, Ms. Mccall? Go to the participant. Oh. All right, here we go. All right, right there. Share. All right, this is the current current agenda. I'm gonna just scroll down it. All right. Has everybody had a chance to look over it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. So I will stop sharing. Okay. Now at this time, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as shown.
May I have a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Please say abstain. Okay, the agenda has been approved. So now we're going to move on to the next action item, which is going to be the minutes, approval of the minutes. We'll review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. The minutes have been provided to you, and are there any corrections? So now let me share my screen again and provide the minutes to you. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 moment, sorry. All right. That's it. Okay, here we go. The meeting minutes. Let me move my bar out the way. Oh, Lord, I forgot how to move the bar. All right, there we go. I'm sorry, that's the agenda. You stop sharing that. All right. All right, here we go. These are the meeting minutes. I will scroll through them. So at this time, can the secretary read the prior meeting minutes? You know what? I'll go ahead and do it just for the sake of time, and then we'll catch up on it the next time. So at this point in time with the meeting minutes, the principal is Principal Cool. This is from the meeting on 8/29, starting at 5:30 p.m. Ms. Coulon, your hand is raised.
I'm sorry, I'm just raising my hand because my name wasn't under parent
Oh,
for that meeting.
I'm sorry. We'll make a change to that. Spell your last name.
Kulon.
Okay. All right, make that change. So at this point in time, at 5:30 p.m., it was a call to order about 5:34 p.m. We did a roll call. Present was Ms. McCall, Ms. Hall, Mr. Murphy, Ms. Boston, Ms. Kruver, Ms. Clark, Ms. Coulon. No, Ms. Coulon was absent. Ms. Coulon was present. Ms. Clark was absent. Ms. Vaughn was absent. Ms. Njai was present. Dr. White was present. Now as we move on, action items were approval of the agenda and nominations for the community member seat. The approval of the agenda was motioned by Mr. Murphy and second by Ms. Hall. 5 voting members approved the community member seat. Nomination for the vote for the community member seat. 5 approving members, that was passed. And the community member seat went to Dr. White. Next.
Marcy, I'm sorry, before you proceed, if you go back up to the top as far as the members of the GO team and their positions, Ms. Njai is also another community member.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Nomination to vote for the community member seat was passed, so we opened the community member seat. Then we did the approval of the minutes. Minutes were read aloud by the interim secretary. The interim secretary was asked for a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes. Motion was made by Ms. Njai and seconded by Ms. Hall. Motion passed. We elected officers. The chair was nominated for, Mr. Murphy was nominated for the chair. He accepted. Ms. Kruger was nominated. She declined. It was approved by 5 votes. The co-chair was accepted by Ms. Hall, approved. Ms. Kruger was nominated and accepted the position of secretary. And that was approved as well. The co-chair, I'm sorry, I did co-chair twice. We'll skip over that one. Community member Dr. White was accepted with 4 votes, and it was a community. Community. I think it was community. Why do I have this duplicated like this? I had to change all that back. Anyway,
That position's for the cluster advisory.
cluster advisor. Thank you.
That's the rep.
All right, cluster advisor rep position. I think it was 4 votes for Dr. White, 3 for Ms. Boston. I got Boston. Both were nominated, both accepted, but Dr. White had more votes. Let me go down. I'll clean all that up later on. Community member Dr. White. Okay, Go Team made a vote for the calendar 2024-2025 calendar. A motion was made by Dr. White, seconded by Mr. Murphy, all approved for fall meetings, budget approval meetings, second semester. Public comment will be 4 times during the school year. Quick question, was this meeting supposed to be a public comment meeting?
Based
Because
on the information I had, no, I thought we were holding most of the public comment towards the budget.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do 2, one in October, 1 in November, and then we're gonna do the other 2 once the budgeting season comes around. So more towards February and March, once we have our numbers and leveling and the budget and things of that nature.
So I made those corrections as well. Ms. Boston voted for the second option and not for the first option. Initially, the dates were created in isolation, but the advisor for the Go team said find all the dates and vote them at one time. No meeting in May was created. And then the first option, which is what we have here, was approved. The second action item was voting for the Go team norms. The motion was made by Mr. Murphy after those norms were read, and then it was seconded by Ms. Kruger. There were no discussion items, information items, principles updates. You can read these silently. These were all the special thanks to all the partners that we have in our community that support Crawford Long Middle School. These were the acknowledgments. You can read those silently. And public comment. Parent asked to check into the HVAC unit at the school. After that, the meeting was adjourned. Mr. Mccall asked for a motion to adjourn. The motion was made by Mr. Murphy and seconded by Ms. Hall. And the meeting concluded at 7:29 p.m. All right, with that being said, that was a mouthful. That being said, if there are there no further corrections? May I have a motion? If there are no further corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes?
I motion that we approve the previous meeting's minute.
May I have
second.
okay. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay.
Ms. Cologne's hand is up. I'm not sure if it's for a yay or a nay. I just wanted to make sure.
I'm so sorry. I forgot to lower my hand. Sorry.
Okay. Any abstentions, please say abstain.
Abstain.
All right, so that's taken care of. Okay, next. We're going to now move on to the next part of the agenda. Let me stop sharing. One moment. All right. Next part of the agenda will be the discussion items. In this evening, we will discuss the strategic plan and priorities review. I will now turn it over to Ms. Mccall.
Good afternoon, Tiger community. Today, as Mr. Murphy stated, our topics for today that we'll be discussing will be our school to strategic plan, which focuses on our plan, our priorities review, and also our SMART goals. In addition, we will also be having data discussions. Those data discussions will include our spring map. And again, when I say spring map, the one we just took is the fall. So we will not be reviewing the fall map data until October's meeting. So we will be reviewing the spring 23-24 map data and GMS data. We will next move into our school uniform discussion, and we will end our meeting with our principal's report, focusing on enrollment and leveling and additional information about the school. Now, our strategic plan for the upcoming school year. Our mission here at Long Middle School. Our mission, Crawford W. Long Middle School cultivates a community of lifelong learners and leaders that are empowered to globally compete and access future opportunities. Our vision is to build a community of compassionate, innovative innovators creating opportunities for themselves and others. Now, of course, each year we have to focus on our SMART goals for our SIP. As you can see, we have 4 SMART goals for the upcoming year, but I do have one in red. As I read these goals, please note that the one in red, the data is currently embargoed by the state. So unfortunately, I will not be able to share with you until our next meeting, hopefully, our embargo data for our mathematics. But our SMART goals read as follows for the upcoming school year. For our literacy SMART goal, The percentage of students in grades 6 through 8 scoring proficient or above in ELA as measured by the Georgia milestones will increase by 3% from 17.3% to 20.3% by May 2025. And again, our math goal, I will not speak on our current embargo data, but the information that's provided to you is from our spring map. So I will be using that as an indicator until we are able to release the information from the embargo data. Now, based off of our spring map, the percentage of students in grades 6 through 8 scoring proficient or above in math as measured by the Georgia milestones will increase again by 3% from 8 to 11 by May 2024. And again, that was a goal that was based off of last year's goal and our map. Once the embargo data is released, I will be able to update that goal. Now, with our ADA, increase the ADA or average daily attendance rate from 88.8% to at least 91.8% by the end of the 24-25 school year. And our last goal for the upcoming year is to provide at least 3 opportunities for family engagement and student goal setting to enhance academic and behavior ownership during the 24-25 school year. Now, our strategic priorities are in alignment with APS priorities and initiatives. And those priorities and initiatives are as follows. Foster academic excellence for all, which include focusing on data, CNI, and signature programming, building a culture of student support, equipping and empowering leaders and staff, and creating a system of school support. Now, our strategic priorities for the year, and I see the format shifted some, but I'll read those priorities. Of course, improve student mastery of reading, language arts, math, social studies, and science content knowledge. Implement the STEM program model. Prepare all students for college, career, and life. Implement goal setting, student ownership, growth mindset opportunities for all students. Build teacher and leader capacity. Recruit, develop, and retain highly talented faculty and staff. Utilize systems and resources that identify and address root causes to promote social and academic growth amongst our scholars, and inform and engage school families, partners, and community members. And it seems like something was cut off, but that is to remove barriers from our scholars that prevent them from coming to school. Now, what strategies will we use to make sure we're working towards these priorities? Now, when it comes to the content mastery, provide a strategic daily intervention connections to address learning gaps in ELA and mathematics. Implement research-based instructional strategies and practices school-wide, and provide core content enrichment and acceleration support to students that include advanced courses. When it comes to our signature programming, implement project-based learning throughout our school, which focuses on STEM. For college, career, and life, execute a college and career readiness plan. Focus on the goal setting. Implement social and emotional learning, SEL, and restorative practices. Implement strategies to motivate, engage, and build self-directed scholars with a sense of autonomy, choice, and responsibility in their actions. Next, as far as recruitment and retaining and developing staff, and I think this also goes with building teachers and leader capacity, providing targeted professional development opportunities and development focus on research-based best practices, and also implementing vertical and horizontal instructional alignments throughout the school and cluster. So that goes back to the collaboration, not only in the school, but within the cluster. I'm now looking at the, again, focusing on staff, creating a hiring for teacher quality team, or a team that focuses on the staff and the needs of the staff based off the needs of our students. Also, if we look at AA, maximizing the use of the data dashboards and universal screener reports to monitor strategies and student progress. Next, we have providing necessary supports to remove barriers, preventing scholars from coming to school. And when I say removing barriers, just not for the scholars, but for the families themselves. And last, build parent, family, and community capacity and engagement for all nationalities to understand student academic and behavior needs through town hall, curriculum nights, workshops, after-school all-stars, and other school implemented initiatives. Now, looking at the strategic plan and our continuous improvement plan. Now, our priorities from our strategic plan is pretty much in alignment with what we saw last school year. We saw an overarching need to increase the students who are performing at proficient or better, or proficient or distinguished in ELA and mathematics, all subgroups, all students throughout the building. So those are two main priorities for ELA and literacy, and for our whole child, to increase the supports that we provide to the families to ensure that barriers are removed, again, so students can come to school. Our SMART goal for our SIP, again, our goal for the upcoming school year is to see an increase of 3%, from 17.3 to 20.3 by May 2025, as noted on the ELA milestones. And our indicator for that would be, of course, the ELA Georgia Milestones Assessment. Also, our SIP goal for numeracy, again, because the data is embargoed, because that data is embargoed, we're going to utilize that 8 to 11%. And also for our ADA to increase from 88.8 to 91.8% by the end of the school year. So those are our ELA, numeracy, and our ADA regarding our attendance. I'll stop right there before we lead to our data discussion to see if we have any questions regarding the information that was provided as far as our strategic priorities, our strategic plan, and our goals for the upcoming year.
Did we identify what ADA stands for?
Oh, ADA is the average daily attendance rate. Yeah, Ms. Boston, you found it? Yeah.
I knew that. I just didn't know if everyone on the call knew that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So again, the ADA is the average attendance rate. Do not get that confused with CCRPI attendance, but we'll talk about that further. So sometimes we look at CCRPI attendance and ADA, and we don't know how to decipher, but we will discuss that later. But our focus for our SIP goals is our ADA. Now, let's look at the data. What is the data saying about the work that we're doing here at Long Middle School? Now, again, we're looking at our spring. So this is last school year before we left and prior to us taking the Georgia Milestones Assessment. Now, if we look at these map results in ELA, of course, we see a lot of red. I'm sure that you all know that some of our students come in not having some prerequisite skills, and of course, there is work to be done across the board. Initially, when we took our spring map in the ELA, our projections were as follows. For our gifted students, based off of our grade 7 gifted students, it was projected that 80% of those 5 students would score at the distinguished level, proficient level, and 20% would score the developing level. For ELA 7th grade, 62% at the beginning level, 21% at the developing level, and 17% at the proficient level. For language arts, for 8th grade, it was projected that 64% of our scholars would score the beginning level, 26% of our scholars would score at the developing level, 9% at the proficient, and less than 1% at the distinguished level. For our, as you can see, we do have intervention blocks, as stated. It's part of our goals to increase our scholars' performance for those students who we've identified gaps. And for those 8th grade students who are enrolled in that connections class, 75% of those scholars scored at the beginning level, 21% at the developing. And we had 4% of those scholars score at the proficient level. For our 7th grade scholars who are in the reading connections class, 100% of them score at the beginning level based off the spring ELA map. And for our gifted students in the 8th grade, there was one student identified as gifted last school year in 8th grade. And based off of this test right here, not identified, that tested as far as spring ELA map. And that one student was projected to score the beginning level in our ELA Georgia Milestones. Again, this is our spring map results, and this is the indicator that we utilize to make instructional decisions prior to our spring milestones. So please look at the numbers that you're seeing right now, because in a few moments we will shift to the actual results of our Georgia Milestones Assessment in these areas. Next, we will look at our spring map results. Again, this is based off of the map assessment that was taken at the end of the last school year. For our gifted students in seventh grade math, of the 5 students that tested, 40% was projected to score at the developing level, 40% at the beginning level, and proficient level, and 20% at the distinguished level. For our seventh graders in mathematics, again, 58%, were projected to score beginning, 32% developing, and 10% proficient. For eighth grade mathematics, and I'm sorry, I'm looking at the note that popped up, and so I see sixth grade is not on here. I make sure that that is revised as far as this grade level so we can get this information. But I will say the information that we're going to see next is also important because, again, this was an indicator for the data that we're going to see next. Seventh grade mathematics, 58% beginning, 32% developing, 10% proficient. Eighth grade, 66% beginning, 28% developing, and 6% proficient. For eighth grade math, these are the students that were, we have 100% of those students projected to score the beginning level. Seventh grade math, we have the same thing. 100% of those students were projected to score beginning. For eighth grade gifted math, the 1 scholar was projected to score developing. For our connections math classes, of the 18 students that were in the eighth grade, 94% were projected to score at the beginning level and 6% at the developing level. And for connections math, seventh grade, 100% of the scholars that tested were projected to score the beginning level. And Ms. Colon, again, thank you. I do apologize. I will make sure I present that data and I get that data to you regarding our spring map, because again, like you say, that the sixth grade scholars are not on there. But although we've seen our spring and we've seen our map and ELS scores, now this data again was to serve as an indicator to see how our scholars would perform on the Georgia Milestones Assessment. And that assessment was taken at the end of April, beginning of May for our scholars. Now, the next slide you will see will show you the results of Long Middle School as far as Long being at the top and the district. Currently, our mathematics data is not on there again because this information is embargoed, but once that information is released, we will present it to you. Now, if you remember the scores that you saw previously, now in front of you, you will see the results from our Georgia Milestones Assessment. For our sixth grade scholars, we saw 55% of our scholars at the beginning level, 25% at the developing, 18% at the distinguished level, and proficient level, and 2% at the distinguished level. And that gave us, with that, we received a 20.8% of our scholars were proficient or above in sixth grade ELA. Next, we go to seventh grade ELA. 66% of our scholars were at the beginning level, 24% were at the developing level, and 10% were at the proficient level. And that is for our seventh grade scholars, giving us 10% at proficient or above. Next, we have our eighth grade scholars. Eighth grade scholars, we have 41% at the beginning level, 36% at the developing level, 21% at the proficient level, and we had 2% at the distinguished level. So they gave us, with our eighth grade, about 22% proficient or distinguished. Again, our math data is not there, so we'll move to physical science. This school year, we did something that we really thought that would enhance and enrich our scholars here at Long Middle School. We incorporated a high school physical science, and also we had a high school algebra class that were taught alongside our teachers in the building, but at the same time, an AVA teacher. Now, you will see if once we look and triangulate data from over the years that we did take a minor drop in science. But I can also say that with that data, we were able to extend the opportunity of physical science to 18 scholars in the building. Now, for those scholars to have the first time experiencing these high school courses, of course, trying to embrace having two teachers, the data is as follows. 44% of those scholars were scored beginning, 50% scored at developing, and 6% scored at proficient. Now looking at our science classes, 70% of our scholars were beginning, 23% were developing, and 7% were proficient. And if we look at science and social studies, again, the only grade levels we are focused on is 8th grade because those areas are only tested at the 8th grade level. And social studies, 53% beginning, 39% developing, 8% proficient, and 1% distinguished. Now, at the top, we have our data for Lone Middle School. At the bottom, and it's just to do a comparison to see how we are in comparison to the rest of the district. And again, I always say I don't compete with other people. We have to compete with ourselves. But this is just to show you the information alongside the district, how we are growing, but at the same time, supporting our scholars to the level of mastery that we are trying to achieve. Next, as I move on, I wanted to show you a more in-depth GMAS year-to-year comparison. Again, the math data is not present for this school year, but you will see the data from since 2018. So the data is shown from 2018. The first look you will see is our ELA scores. So this is the data from 2018 up until 2024. And if you can see that from 2018 to currently, Long Middle School's proficient and above data for ELA is highest that it's been since 2018. So although we have some work to do, I think it's great that we celebrate the teachers that have put in the work, because it's great to see that in 1 year we were able to reach our goal that was set for us in our school improvement plan. We not only met it, but we exceeded the goal, but at the same time, we're growing our scholars to the level of providing supports to fill those gaps so they can grow towards mastery. Now, again, I will not review the math data because currently we do not have any information for that. Now, again, looking at the sciences, I did address that earlier. We did have 18 students that participated in high school physical science. So you do see a decrease. You do see a decrease in the science scores for proficient above at the 8th grade level. There are other things we will discuss once this data is shown, but for our 8th grade, we did see a decrease to 6.6% of those students that score proficient and above. And this is not the high school physical science course. This is only students who took the 8th grade science test. So our physical science scholars are not included in this average. And last, 8th grade social studies. 8th grade social studies, we did see an increase from the previous school year. 2019, it was some great things going on, and currently there are some great things going on. So I have no doubt that we will reach our goal for the upcoming year at minimum of 3% increase, but we did see an increase from 6.8% to 8.7%. So almost a 2% increase in our social studies data. Now, our glows and our grows. Of course, we would like to celebrate everything that has been done, but then there are still some enhancements that we must focus on in order to get our scholars to the next level. Here are our glows. ELA GMAS proficient and above increased from 13.9% to 17.3%. And I want to clap to all our ELA teachers and all the teachers that supported our push here at Long Middle School. We were able to exceed our goal as stated on our SIP. Social studies, percent of students scoring proficient or above increased from the previous year, and beginning decreased by 9%. So we did see an increase in proficient and above, and we saw a decrease in beginning. So we're pushing towards on both ends as far as the performance indicators and performance areas. We're going in the right direction. We're decreasing our red, but at the same time, we're increasing our green. 5% of our ELL students scored proficient and above on the ELA GMAS. No student scored proficient or above the previous school year. So we're seeing our ELL students or our subgroups increase. So we have 5% of our ELL students as a total population scored proficient and above, where last school year we had 0. There was a decrease in almost 15% of ELL students that performed at the beginning level, and that's overall. So that is great to see, almost a 15% decrease of those students performing at the beginning level. Also, I am so proud to say there was an increase of the numbers of students with disabilities scoring proficient or above an ELA. We had 5. It was, I think, a percentage of 5.2%. We had 5 of our ELL, I'm sorry, 5 of our students with disabilities across the school to score proficient or above on the ELA milestones. And I think that's something to truly, truly be celebrated, that we did have those scholars to perform at that level. Now our goals. One of the major barriers that we saw last school year, especially with those high school courses, was the lack of 1 certified teachers at the high school level, but at the same time, ensuring that those advanced classes had the support that were to be provided both in-house and outside of the district. So we really did see there was a need to really focus on getting mathematics and science teachers within the building high school certified. So we would have an opportunity to enrich those scholars who need to be enriched, but at the same time, we'll be able to build our own teachers' capacity. So not only to meet the needs of the scholars, but also the needs of the teachers. So that is a growth that we saw we needed across the board. So currently we're working on that. And Mr. Murphy and I have had some meetings with individuals alongside Ms. Pendergrass to ensure that we're increasing the number of teachers that are high school certified in math and science. Also, decrease in students performing proficient and above on the Georgia milestones in science. Again, we did discuss that earlier. We saw an increase of students at the physical science, 18 students with physical science, but we still need to make sure we're, especially as a STEM school, that we're employing those strategies to ensure that our scholars are performing both with STEM and through the curriculum that's been provided. And also, we did not meet our ADA SIP goal. We did see an increase from 87.5 to 88.8, but our goal was to have an ADA or average daily attendance rate of 90.5. But one of the best things is that we did not backtrack. We did go forward. So we're working towards that goal currently this school year as well. So now my question is, and this will become more of a team discussion, are we on target to successfully accomplish our priorities? Don't all jump in at one time.
We're basing that on the data that we just reviewed, or what we are implementing right now?
We are based on the data that was reviewed, but also especially those who are here on a day-to-day basis, knowing the things both quantitative and qualitative. So we're looking at the data, of course, that we reviewed, but at the same time, data that's beyond numbers. But for our data discussion, we are going to look at the data that we just looked at. What did you notice? What are your wonderings? And what additional questions do you have?
Have we secured a current science or math teacher who are receiving training to be high school certified?
We actually have gone through the process, but there are some additional layers at the district level as far as them teaching a class, not teaching in class, and also certification. So right now we have identified individuals, but right now we're making sure the certification and to add on and those things that more so on the lens of HR to ensure that it will be a smooth transition for that individual. But we do have those identified individuals, yes, and those conversations have been held. As I stated, we've met with district personnel also.
Looking at the data from the previous year and the current year with the milestone, it looks like we're still closely in close proximities to the district overall averages. It's not like we're far off. And then when you looked at the averages from year to year, it looks like we're still trending upwards and not downwards. I know science took a hit, but as a school, we're still trending upwards when you look at the majority of the data from the other disciplines. So I think we're going in the right direction. And by adding the small groups and then employing new strategies in the classroom with project-based learning and making sure that students use the 21st century classroom skills by employing those, we can hopefully we're tapping into our students and able to create more critical thinking, the critical thinking process with them. And so, because I mean, I walk through the schools and I see the teachers sitting next to the students working in their small groups and really keying in on the domains that they need to work on. So I think we're going in a great direction.
Can we go back to the data slide?
Which are the milestones or which one? Let me know.
Back one more. Yeah, that one.
I'm wondering, and I'm going to jump in. I'm wondering, looking at the trend data of our elementary schools. If you look at the data, because we are one middle school, if we compare our 5 feeder schools, will the data show us this same picture? And so and that's something I'm wondering, because even the students, are they coming to Long Middle School? Those who may be the high achievers or those at the proficient or distinguished level at 5th grade, are they transitioning over to Long Middle School, or are our charter partners getting them? So that's what I'm wondering, to look at the trend data. But at the same time, especially at that 6th grade, are we getting the scholars who are looked at as high achievers or who are performing at the proficient and distinguished level? Are we getting all those scholars from the elementary schools?
And that's a really good point. I have a friend, his child is a high achiever, but he goes to a school outside of his community. So what that means, he goes to a charter school. So that talent now is lost. So when you look at that elementary school data, are we getting all those kids? And I think a lot of times when you have these other schools in our community, these charter schools, we're competing with them now. And again, we lose talent. It's like, are you gonna go to a D1 school, or are you gonna go to a HBCU and play football and try to go to college? I mean, try to go to the NFL. Like, we're competing with them, and they're taking the talent that's been developed in our feeder schools away from us. So I think that's a really good point, to see how many students are we losing that are in the green after 5th grade that are actually coming to their community middle school, and then so on to high school. That's really something to look at.
And that is a major wondering, because if the students were in the community schools, would the data look like this? Because I know, and I'm sorry, Ms. Cologne, your hand is raised.
Ms. Coulon.
Yes, I didn't want to interrupt you, so if you want to finish, and then
No, I was just going to piggyback off of what Mr. Murphy said, the community schools compared to how many of those students went outside of the community for schools. That's all I was about to say.
okay. I'm glad that someone brought up the mention of the elementary school data and how that affects this, because as someone who used to teach elementary school, 2 points I'd like to make, and I'm not downing the teachers and the schools, but I worked in a Title I school, although it was DeKalb, and for my students that were performing above grade level, if the parents if they asked me my advice, I would advise them to apply for a magnet program outside of the school they would feed into. But I also would have conversations with them about what could be done at the middle school level to you know what I'm saying, to convince them that it was worth their while. Because if we're looking at, and I don't know if that's even possible to do that, even if it's anonymously, to the community, and say, for those of you that chose to send your child to a charter school or a private school, what could have been done or what could be done now that would give you the confidence to put them in that school. Also, and again, no knock at the teachers, but I know like I taught third grade pretty much all but 1 year, and we were having issues with the proficiency levels of the fifth graders, which obviously would then affect the scores in middle school. And so there was conversations at both at the administrative and the grade share level about where to place teachers. And there was some decision around, I mean, obviously not forcing them, but asking certain teachers to move up to fourth and fifth grade. So the reason I'm saying this is because when I look at the data, and again, I've never taught middle school, props to all of y'all, because I just didn't, takes a special person to teach middle school. When I look at like, say, sixth grade, 55%, and then it goes up to 66, but then it goes back down for beginning in eighth grade. I'm just curious when you're doing like staffing it, well, obviously depending on certification as well, like what is happening between sixth and seventh grade that the level of proficiency looks like it's going down, but then it jumps back up, if that makes sense.
That makes complete sense. And I'm just going to say, some things are student problems. I'm just going to be very transparent. And some things are adult issues. And as the leader, myself, as the APs, our leaders, we had to make decisions because again, when we see that our students are capable of things, we have to make the best decisions for students. So I just will say some things are adult issues and some things are student issues. So you see both of that in the data, but I can say this school year that the right people are in the right place to take our students to the next level. So I'm more than certain that we will see a change and enhancement in this data coming up. If that answers your question.
Yes, definitely.
I'd like to notate that for on the district level, the sixth and seventh grade beginner learners kind of maintain the same level. So maybe we can find opportunities to maybe collaborate with other schools to see what type of strategies are being used or what's effective at other schools. Like for instance, the assessment meeting I went to today gave me an opportunity to just one, review our assessments, but two, also just talk with other teachers and what type of strategies they're using. And so that way we can kind of share the wealth a bit. And hopefully we will have teachers will have more opportunities to collaborate and possibly even vertical alignment. Like we've talked about that in previous years. So like from feeder schools, if the data it looks good, then we can see, okay, well, what are you doing in elementary school that we can continue on, and to make sure that we're keeping our foot on the gas for the kids, especially for the ones who are developing, to push them up into proficient, and then proficient students to push them up into distinguished.
Well, I will say that I have spoke with several principals, and that vertical teaming and alignment to ensure that the curriculum is appropriate, not appropriate, but we're receiving information from both the high school and the elementary school. That is something that we will plan on doing. But at the same time, we're also doing cross cluster. So Ms. Whitfield, principal at Bunch, we're going to do cross cluster walks. So I will be walking over at Bunch and she's going to be walking over here. So we can look at some of those strategies that are utilized in our classrooms and vice versa. And we could just see what things are working, what things are not. And so we could share that knowledge amongst our staff. So those are two things that have already been lifted, that have already been discussed, and actually are already scheduled to happen.
And just to add to that, we have vertical alignment meetings with our cluster with STEM. And we talk about a lot of what are you doing in your school at the elementary level, middle school, and high school. When students transition in our cluster, we're on the same page. There aren't any gaps. Because I know that coming from high school, when I came to middle school, when we taught life science, one of the big units in biology in high school is ecology, where when you get to middle school is really not taught. as much as in depth, but yet it's a big push. It's a big portion of the test in high school. So just making sure that in elementary school, that those standards that we need those students to have those prerequisites for are being touched on, so that when they get to middle school, that we can help close the gap. And then what high school needs from us, we can close the gap as well. So that alignment is very important. Then again, that close cross cluster walks to see those different strategies being employed would be very beneficial. So because sometimes we're inside of our own boxes. So I think that'd be very beneficial.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Murphy. It as a teaching team, I think it's very important that the reach of that, or the mindset on what we're going to teach. If we're going to be focused on STEM, then there needs to be some type of a continuity of what we're focusing in on. And that when I say continuity, I mean from elementary school to middle school to high school. So if we can unite in those focus areas, then I think we will see a gradual, more consistent improvement across the board, with our scores and being able to meet those criteria.
I agree with everything that has been said. I
I have
now,
a question.
okay.
So I'm curious about the ELL improvement. I believe the data said that they improved 15%. So that's excellent. And so I know now we've had it for what, 2-3 years now. We have 2 ESOL
We have three,
teachers, even though I know one focuses on math and the other.
we have 3.
Oh, 3 now.
Mhm.
Is the third one new this year, or did we have the third one last year?
Third one is new this year.
That's what I thought. Okay. So I'm just curious to know what strategies did our ELA ESOL teacher employ to help the children make those gains, because that's really impressive.
I would say that could, and I cannot speak for the teachers in the classroom, but I can say that is the goal, because even when you're looking at those reader standards, you have to focus on the listening, the speaking, the writing, and the reading. So when it comes to that, those areas still are lifts that will assist in the classroom with the English language arts. Because if we work on those skills and the students already have the knowledge, but they have to work on those skills, then those are enhancements. Because I can say, looking at the access scores and then looking at the Georgia milestone scores, you can see those students who advance in areas such as listening and the speaking and the writing. Those are students who also scored well on the Georgia milestones assessment. So as long as those skills are being enhanced, because remember, the ELA teachers are teaching the content, whereas those ELL teachers are teaching the skills in order for them to master the content. So I think that has a large effect to do with that, because if I have the skills necessary to master the standard, then I'm more prone to master that standard. So I think it's a combination of what the ELA teachers are doing and the ELL teachers are doing. Okay, now as we look at the timeline for Go Teams, we are at the current September to December phase where we're utilizing current data. We're reviewing and updating our strategic plan if necessary. So currently we are at step 4. Before winter break, we will take action as far as the priorities for 25-26 school year and for budget discussions. Now, our next discussion will transition to the optional school uniform. Mr. Murphy.
Yes.
I'm going to
So,
stop sharing so you could.
all right. So, decision on maintaining or adopting an optional school uniform. We have an important decision to make regarding the continuation or implementation of an optional school uniform. Our goal today is to first decide whether we wish to move forward with this initiative If we vote in favor of maintaining or exploring the establishment of an optional school uniform, we will then discuss the formation of an advisory committee to help implement and manage the process. If we vote against maintaining or exploring the establishment of an optional school uniform, the school will not have a uniform in 2025-2026, and we will proceed to the next agenda item. Before we move forward, Principal Mccall, can you provide the team with the background information on this policy change? Can't hear you.
Yes, I will. I'm going to share my screen again so you all can receive this information on the policy change and we can begin our discussion. Okay. Here's the information on this new updated policy change. In the 23-24 school year, the APS Board of Education updated the district's dress code policy. As part of the update, started with the 25-26 school year, if a school wishes to maintain or explore implementing an optional school uniform, it must go through an engagement process and have a vote as outlined. 4, I'm not going to read the elementary school and high school, of course, because we're middle school, but just know at all levels a vote must happen. For the middle school, school uniforms are adopted upon the agreement of the principal, Go Team, and the elected student government. If the school does not have an elected student government, then a majority vote must be secured from the student body to adopt the school uniform. If your school currently has a school uniform and wishes to continue, you must go through this process. Now, the Atlanta Board of Education policy DB, the student dress code, it was revised on June 3rd, 2024. I'm going to stop sharing right quick, and I'm going to actually drop the link to this dress code into the chat for everyone so you can actually see. But at the same time, I'm going to review and provide you with the requirements and restrictions regarding this policy. So again, first, I'm going to drop the link into the chat so you all could view it yourself, the updated policy, if you have not had the opportunity. So the updated dress code policy as adopted by the board, the link has been placed in the chat for you. I'm going to start back sharing. And while you are reviewing that, again, I am going to go through the restrictions and requirements regarding the policy. Now, for this policy, the requirements, again, the requirements for our new dress code, students are required a top of non-see-through fabric, a bottom of non-see-through fabric, shoes, and undergarments that are not visible. Those are the requirements in the new board's policy. Restrictions: no words or symbols that are gang-related, sexually suggestive, obscene, or promote illegal behavior. Nothing associated with alcohol, illegal drugs, or tobacco. No flip-flops, athletic slides, or footwear that doesn't support the front and back of the foot. Now, school-specific dress codes. We have one district-wide student dress code adopted by the Atlanta Board of Education, and school-specific dress codes may not contradict the board policy. So here are some examples of problematic school-specific dress code provisions. Statements such as dress in good taste, no baggy pants, no sweatpants, no activewear, no short shorts or skirts, no spaghetti straps, no tube tops, no dresses, no tight revealing clothing, no leggings, no joggers, no extreme hairstyles or colors, No Crocs, all shirts must be tucked in, no hoodies, hooded jackets. Hair should be clean and neatly groomed, no shirts which expose cleavage. Students dressed in uniform are better perceived by teachers and peers. Those are examples of problematic school-specific dress code provisions. Now, schools may choose to adopt an optional school uniform effective immediately. At no time will students have their instructional time interrupted or be barred from school or class for declining to wear the uniform. Now, establish an optional school uniform. If your school currently has a school uniform and wishes to continue, you must go through this process. The GO team needs to take action or vote on maintaining or exploring implementing an optional school uniform. After the motion and a second, the GO team may have additional discussion. Once discussion is concluded, the GO team will vote. If the GO team votes to move forward, and the team should proceed to discuss the school uniform advisory committee. So now at this time, I'm going to allow Mr. Murphy to take over so we could take action on maintaining and exploring an optional school uniform.
Are you speaking, Mr. Murphy?
No, I was not.
Okay.
Okay, so at this time, thank you for that information. Now we can decide if we want to maintain or explore into implementing an optional school uniform. This vote will determine if we move forward with the idea. Is there a motion to move forward?
I motion that we move forward with maintaining an optional school uniform policy.
Do I have a second?
I say,
The motion has been made and seconded. We will now have a brief discussion. Share any questions or thoughts you have about maintaining or exploring implementation of an optional school uniform. At this
I have
time,
a question. With the uniform being optional, does that mean that they could still wear the other clothes, or is it just uniform?
that is a very good question. I would defer to the principal.
Optional more so is it optional as far as the parents. So if a parent says, yes, I want my child to wear the uniform, then they have that option. So that will always be the option for us to say we're a uniform school. So it's pretty much, I'm just going to be honest, like we currently are, because it's strongly encouraged.
Okay.
So pretty much it's there if you want it, but you don't have to abide by it.
Yeah, but it's strongly encouraged because I mean you cannot be penalized, you cannot if you don't have it. Compared to everyone just wearing what they want every day. And the only thing we would not have to look at is the only thing that would be restricted would be those 4 items that were listed on the restricted list.
That seems like it's going to be kind of, if you don't strongly enforce it, it's going to be kind of counterintuitive that you have one group wearing this, one group wearing that, one group wants to go with it. So now how do you actually enforce? I mean, we do a pretty good job at it at Crawford Loan, but you know, how do you?
We can't enforce, we can't penalize, we can
Right.
only provide incentives. So we don't penalize, we incentivize. So for example, how we do the trips, for example, how we provide students with little different incentives. If they get to go be named student of the month, the academic celebrations, things that we do, those are ways that we incentivize. So
Oh, question, would we be in any type of violation if a child came to school out of uniform and we gave them an alternative item of apparel so that way they can be more in compliance?
if that's something that was requested by the parent. So let's say if you brought your child something, if this is what I wanted you to wear to school, and I did not want you to be in compliance with the uniform, there's that's out of our hands compared to if a child is in need of a uniform. Then, of course, we could give it. But right now, currently, with our uniform policy, how we have it is whereas the parents are asking for uniform shirts and they're asking for pants, and that knows that's something that we at the school easily provide.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way I guess we would know if a child is out of compliance due to need or lack of desire, we would have to contact the parent. So we would,
Oftentimes there is, but in the case of this new policy, contacting the parent over the uniform would not be even something that we would do because
Right, because it's optional.
yes, I understand it, but some parents buy their kids uniforms but the kid comes to school outside of the uniform. And we found that out by calling parents.
we can use some of the same preventive measures, but as far as the extent, it will be limited.
Gotcha.
And so just I would like for everyone to speak and share their position on this, but based on how we vote, there is more on the agenda that we have to cover in order to cover this discussion. So are there any more, is anything else, anything that someone wants to say before we move on to the vote?
Before we move on, because I'm privy to a lot of the information that comes through with parents, of course, the communications. And I just will say that several parents have reached out to me and stated that this has become a manner in which the need for name brand clothing, name brand shoes, especially at the middle grades level, it's becoming to where it's not as strenuous on them. Going to Walmart to buy a collared shirt compared to students asking for
$0.95
Nike outfit or Jordan outfit, it becomes because when everyone is in the same uniform or everyone has the same attire on, it's difficult to say you have name brand on, you don't, because most uniforms, most parents are going to Rainbow, they're going to Walmart instead of going to just major name brand stores to buy, let's say, a polo or things that they're trying to keep up with other individuals with. So many parents have really, stated they're very happy and it's helped them in regards to their financial situation at home. And I see Ms. Cologne is acknowledging, as a parent, I love the uniform. So being here when we were a uniform school compared to when we were not at some point, I think it has truly helped a lot of the parents. And again, that's just from the feedback that parents come on a personal level and bring to myself and the social worker and other individuals who support them.
And I think it reduces conflicts. Now I'm not joning you about your outfit because we both in a polo shirt and khakis. Like, what is there to talk about? It reduces that issue, and I'm all for it because when it's school time, I go to Walmart and buy all my son's clothes. So I'm definitely for the uniforms.
And again, we're just not talking in general. We're talking about the data that we have here at Long Middle School. So I don't want anyone to think that these are general statements. These are things also, like Mr. Murphy said with his son also, and I'm sure other parents who have uniforms kids, but the data at Long, even the behavior incidents are showing that things are, when it comes to teasing and taunting and bullying, we have a major, major, major decrease in that.
And the students look good. I want to throw that there as well. Children are still allowed to show their uniqueness, their creativity. Some of our young ladies really dress up their uniforms and they look good. I like the appearance of our students, like the 8th graders when they first returned, they all look so good. So they look focused on education, where the focus should be.
Ms. Cologne, you have your hand raised?
I'm muted. Sorry. I just want to say I like the fact when I went to orientation last year when my daughter was in middle school, and then I saw the fact that there's 3 different levels, and then you have each grade level with a certain color, and just it makes it easier. I mean, I'm not a teacher anymore, but I really like the fact even as a safety measure, because you could say, oh, why is that 8th grader on the 6th grade hall? So, just, and then the camaraderie and, having worked in a Title I school, there really was a lot of bullying about name brands. And I actually didn't know it was I'm gonna say this quietly because she's in the other room. I didn't know that it was optional. She doesn't know that. So I'm just
Don't
so
tell her.
thank no, but just
Not
like
gonna tell her
Ken
they're optional.
just like
For the
Ms. Foster just said,
school year. But I will say, and this is the last thing before we move on, you see the camaraderie built with the teachers also, because now you'll see some grade levels dressed alike with the shirts of their grade level, and it's across the board. So it's even build the teachers to act, whether it's once a week or if it's once a month, they're even coming together as teams to support their students with their white shirts for the eighth grade, black jerseys for the seventh grade, and those yellow shirts for the sixth grade. So I think even the staff have bought in to making sure that they support and show the scholars the uniforms can be creative, they can be nice, but at the same time, even the adults are wearing them. So with that being said, Mr. Murphy.
Okay, so now that we've had this discussion, we now need to vote on whether we want to maintain or explore implementing an optional school uniform. So now that I've had the second, all in favor, say aye. So the
Aye.
secretary can record your vote.
I
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Okay. All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. Thank you for your votes. So now we move on to the next part. If the Go team votes for favor of maintaining, thank you for your votes. The majority of the Go team is in favor of moving forward with maintaining or exploring implementation of the optional school uniform. Now that we voted to proceed, we will need to establish a school uniform advisory committee. So now, establish a school uniform advisory committee. It's about 20 to 23 slides in the meeting presentation template.
Okay, now that we have discussed the actual uniforms, now let's look at the Uniform Advisory Committee duties and responsibilities. First, we've of course moved forward with establishing a school uniform advisory committee. First, we have to develop a stakeholder engagement plan to receive feedback on implementing a uniform and its components. If adopted, it must include a minimum 20-day public comment period on any proposed uniform. 2, recommending the optional school uniform components. 3, establishing the student voting timeline and process if necessary. 4, determine the length of time and the uniform will be in use before reconsideration. 5, developing a communication plan to inform the school community about the optional school uniform if the uniform is adopted. And 6, other objectives as defined by the GO team.
Are there any additional goals we should consider?
Now, let me go over the committee members. The GO team will, and you let me know if I'm going too far.
Yeah, right. After that, I was supposed to ask, are there any additional goals we should consider?
Okay.
Does anyone want to add an additional goal?
Can we
You're
go back?
fine with it?
Okay, well, I have a question.
Okay.
So, and this is my first year on the Go team and really being familiarizing myself with the uniform policy. But I keep hearing the word optional. Is there any provision within APS to make uniforms mandatory?
No.
No.
Okay, so it's absolutely no way we can make them mandatory. No.
Encourage.
Okay, gotcha.
Recommend, yes.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And I will, and for the sake of, to ensure that I'm, correctly speaking, I will review the policy myself and I still will reach out for additional guidance to ensure that the optional is just that optional and is not the mandatory. But I'm more than certain that it, again, still will be optional.
So with that said, we can move on.
Can you go
with
back
this-
for a sec? Hold on. I'm just going over if we want to add anything. For number 4, what exactly do we mean by that? Determine the length of time the uniform will be in use before reconsideration. So are we saying that because our students are wearing uniforms right now, we have to determine the time frame where they can stop wearing uniform before we implement our optional?
When will we discuss? Because whatever we discuss and decide, it will be for the 25-26 school year. So anything we're discussing and deciding will not be for this school year, will be 25-26. So let's say, for example, we say that we want to start wearing and we adopt the uniform policy. Let's say we say we want to do it for 2 years, and in 2 years we'll revisit. Or if we want to do it for 3 years, then we'll revisit to see if we want to make it optional or we do go back to just letting them wear what they want to wear. So that's what that's saying. Mhm.
And yeah, just looking at analyzing the data about, was it favorable? Was it not favorable? What did it do for the culture of our school? And that, I mean, that's what APS is doing right now. So, yep.
So really, I'm going to be honest, really, we have a lot of baseline data currently, especially from the last 2 years where we really had that push, and especially this year where we're seeing it in larger number. So we can already start looking at that baseline data based off of what we're seeing currently as far as the things that we discussed before we got here, the enhancements that we've seen, the culture, the students, their attitudes. Those are things that we're going to continue to look at during that duration of time.
So now we will determine who will serve on the committee. The committee will be comprised of up to 3 Go Team members, the committee chair, and up to 2 additional members. Number 2, must include at least 3 students for high schools and middle schools as outlined by the district, and may include any other members we identify. We will need a group of people who are committed to putting in some time and effort to gather feedback, conduct research, and make recommendations. So now the question is, can I have volunteers from members of the Go Team who would like to serve on the committee? As a reminder, we are limited to 3 Go Team members on the committee.
Am I included as one of those members?
Oh, it does not. It does not say that you're not.
I want to say, Mr. Mccall, that I don't think that you count officially as a Go Team member because you're the principal.
Yeah.
Because you can't vote when we
Can't vote.
vote on stuff. So I want to say you don't count.
Miss Boston, I see your that right there. I mean, we pretty much have that already because we have a closet full and it's not discounted. We're giving them to the kids. But that right there still has and wouldn't have nothing to do with that optional vote because again, if they say no, discounted or not, then that wouldn't do any good. So I understand what you're saying, but we already have several things in place. And those who reach out, they get them, trust me. Again, the committee members for the middle school with student ambassadors, at least 3 student ambassadors, and middle school without student ambassadors, at least 3 students selected by the principal with Go Team input. Now, I will say right now, we have both the youth action team, and we also are about to, and information has been sent out, our SGA. So although we currently don't have those student ambassadors in the next few weeks, as far as the SGA, and we do have a list of student youth action members currently. So Mr. Murphy.
Oh, okay.
I'm interested, Mr. Murphy. That was a question you asked.
Yes. So
I'm interested as well.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I'm interested.
Okay, go ahead, Murphy, you got it.
Yep, so the chair and up to 2 additional members. So that would be the committee. So those identified, so please take note of those, Madam Secretary. Wait, is that the end of it? Nope, it's not. All right. So now for middle school, how should students be identified for How should students be identified for the committee? That's the next question.
I personally, and this is just me, and I'm just gonna give my input that, especially when it comes to the SGA, if the students are elected as the representatives to represent their grade level or their classes, we should use those students who have been pinpointed as class representatives, grade level. I'm gonna say, especially if we need 3 students, I would say the president or the class rep for those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders serve as the class representatives, and that's how I would think the students should be selected.
Yeah, I agree with that. So you can get like a good survey, a good someone to speak for the people from each grade level. Anybody else with a suggestion?
Yeah, I'm thinking that once we identify the homeroom reps and the SGA um officers, maybe they can nominate one person from each grade level and allow the SGA to select if it's more than one. Like if there's a competition, then they can select those representatives, but still one for each grade level, like Ms. McCall stated.
Okay. Are there any other individuals or groups we should consider? I know we mentioned the youth, it's the youth action group, is it correct? And the SGA. Are there any other groups? Okay.
I think those 2 groups would be, Ms. Cologne raised her hand.
I agree with those groups. My only question is if this wouldn't take effect until the following school year, if they're in 8th grade now and they would be moving on to high school, like they would be giving input and they wouldn't be there the year it was implemented.
And we can revisit that. And I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Ms. McCall, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just gonna say that the good thing about 8th grade is that they've experienced it for 3 years, and so they may have input on how it influenced or impacted their educational journey. So their input may be invaluable.
Right. And then they could kind of also, because their experience going through middle school kind of lends to how they see why the uniform should be important, why we need, they have a better understanding than necessarily they have a different perspective. And I think that helps out a lot because they've experienced more in these 3 grade levels. But are there any other?
And I also want to say we may need to look at both because we want to make sure the inclusiveness, because we're getting a diverse population. And so we want to make sure that there's representatives from each dynamics of population we're receiving. And when I say it, to make sure there's representation from our African-American scholars, but at the same time, our Hispanic scholars are represented. So even when that decision is made, whether it's the student ambassadors or the Go team meet with me and we have that discussion, I just want to make sure that our representatives represent the demographics of Long Middle School and not just one set of scholars.
Okay, any other comments from the floor? Great. Finally, we need to determine the length of time for this committee. The committee will need to complete its work and bring a recommendation for the full Go team's consideration in spring semester. Please suggest a termination date for this committee. And this is an action item that we have to vote on.
I think that is it the February meeting would be, and let me see the exact date, because that will give us enough time to actually inform the parents,
February 13th is that meeting in February 13th.
Okay, February 13th. I think that may be a good meeting because you don't think so?
Well, I think based on what they're asking is if we set up these meetings now, the committees now, it's really trying to collect information and research to formalize how we communicate this to the general body, the school body. And so we would need to have that information ready going into the spring so we can springboard it for the next upcoming school year.
Okay, realistically, do you think we could do it by Christmas?
Yeah.
Before we put on that break?
Yeah, because you already had Dr. Jones already has his group, and then you have the SGA. So we already have a pool of people to school. And we can, if we want to do a school vote for people, we can do a Google form or something like that. We get some quick data back if we select certain people. But we already have some things in place to pull from. So I think it's a lot faster than if it was we didn't have anything to pull from. So I think December will be great.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what date in December before we go home? Anybody have a specific date in mind?
What is the date for that Go Team meeting in December?
Oh, that'd be perfect because we can actually have them on as well.
Mhm.
Madam Secretary, what is the date of that Go Team?
I'm sorry, but what date? December?
Yes,
December is December 19th.
December 19th.
So why didn't we wait till the February date to present it to the Go Team, because all the work would need to be done during first semester. And so the way I was processing it was first semester we distribute the information to the community, get the student feedback and all of that first semester, and then on for February's meeting, that's when it's presented to the Go Team. So you guys have backed it up 2 months so that way you have to have the presentation in December. Because we remember we still need 20 days to inform the community and allow them, or the parents, and allow them their input.
It's September. We got October and November
Right.
for that 20 days.
And
That's
But you still need time to formulate all this, and we in our SGA, we gotta get that out to those kids too. So that's gonna take some time.
And Mr. Chairman, to ensure that there's clarity, can you please review the notes to remind the team?
Okay, so please remind the team that they need to vote on the recommendations of the committee in the spring semester.
Right. So that's what it said. We vote in spring. So that's
So we
February.
vote on the recommendations of the committees that have been set up. So we need to collect data now so we have it for the spring semester.
Right. So the December meeting that you guys are talking about, that is for the presentation of the data, not to vote on.
No, not to vote on.
December meeting would be the end of the work that we'll do to make sure. So everything that the students are doing, the planning committee, all of the work, and I think it was discussed on the previous slide, that's what we'll terminate that work. So then the work that we've done, whether it's meetings with the parents, whether it's conversations, whether it's robocall, however we plan to communicate it based on
Any final revisions?
December 19th is the cutoff.
Yep.
But in the spring, when we return, that's when we'll vote and
On the policy. Okay.
to implement the communication plan. So we got to make sure that everything is together. The work is done. This is the prep work. And so we're
Right.
prep work.
That's what I was assuming. First semester is the prep work. So I just thought you were saying that December meeting would be the meeting where we are voting on what has
The
been
December meeting will be the termination of the work.
Yeah.
So we're done. We're not
Gotcha.
talking about uniforms no more. The next time we discuss them, we're going to actually be voting.
Be the vote. Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. All right. Okay, so now we said December. Wait, where am I at? Okay. All right. So now, based on our discussion, I propose the following resolution. Resolve that the Crawford Lawn Go Team will establish a school uniform advisory committee with goals and members as outlined on the resolution. The committee will present its final recommendations to the Go Team no later than, what was the date? December
19th.
19th. Okay. May I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I motion to approve.
A second? A second?
I second.
Okay. Is there any additional discussion or questions about this resolution? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the secretary can record your vote. All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Please say abstain. The secretary will know who made the motion, who seconded, and how each member voted. All right, moving on. Appointing the committee chair. Now that we've established the School Uniform Advisory Committee, I will name the chair of the committee. The chair will be responsible for setting committee. Oh my God. The chair will be responsible for setting committee meetings, achieving the goals of the committee, adhering to open meeting laws, and providing regular reports of the committee to the GO team. Note to the chair, you have the authority to name the chair of the committee. You may name someone who has volunteered to be one of the committee chair. Who wants to be the committee chair? Please, who wants to be the committee chair?
I'll chair the committee.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was over here whispering. I bet you this boss will say.
I know.
Right. So at this point in time, I name Mrs. Boston of Philadelphia to be the chair of the School Uniform Advisory Committee. Do you accept this appointment?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This concludes the establishment of our School Uniform Advisory Committee. We will post the approved resolution to the GO Team webpage and submit it to the district office. All right, proceed to the next item of the agenda. Let me find the last page of the agenda. Oh, next item on the agenda. Hold on one second. Let me pull this back up. Boom,
The
boom.
next item on the agenda is the principal's report.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Now,
Yeah.
when it comes to principal's report, our projected enrollment for the school year was 621 students. As of our 15-day head count, we had an enrollment of 631 students, and that was a difference of 5 students. So that pretty much means that we did not have to do any leveling as far as staff members, and we gained 5 students compared to our enrollment. Now, when it comes to the students, the per pupil amount is pretty much $5,334. Now, if you look at that, the budget adjustment that was provided based off of a leveling was $133,606. Now, that $26,670 came from the budget adjustment of the 5 students. So again, that's 5 students at $5,334 a piece. And then what you call your reserve. That's pretty much like reserve money that you already had, and the district will give you a percent of that back. So that $52,525. Then we had $9,411 as our Title I adjustment. And now, the biggest portion of this $133,606 is from the safety and security grant. If you're aware that the state of Georgia released funds for safety and security to district-wide, and the amount each school was allocated was $45,000. Now, again, that $45,000 is included in that $133,606. So on the next slide, you will see how the funds were broken down. But remember, I think about only $81,000 is left once you remove the security grant. Now, again, I have just put a portion of the plan for the leveling and Title I funds, but on the next slide, you will have an entire list of how it was itemized to get to that amount of $133,606. Now, of course, again, as I stated, $45,000 of that is mandatory for safety and security. So our priority is to increase safety and security school-wide. With those purchases, there are some need for camera updates, blinds throughout the building, and with safety and security, blinds and window coverings are a part of that. And $45,000 sounds like a lot, but when you look at the cost per blind for a school, that becomes a lot of money. So $45,000 will be used for safety and security. Now, there's a need to increase academic and extracurricular opportunities to develop the whole child. But in order to be able to do that, we're going to have to make sure we have the staff here before and after school, and even on weekends to supplement the needs of the students. So 9,000 of those funds, additionally, because we do have some funds that are allocated by the district for stipends for teachers, but an additional 9,000 would go for teacher stipends to support academics, behavior, and also sports and overtime pay for any staff member. Now, increase the academic, social, emotional, and cultural opportunities to develop the whole child. This allows for our students to go on field trips, to get transportation, and also charter buses. Now, when it comes to that, of course, we're no longer dealing with CARES funds. So funds that we utilized last school year to assist our scholars with going on field trips and things of that nature, we no longer have. So funds had to be allocated out of our general fund. And as you can see, 12,500 was allocated in 3 areas. That again is transportation, that's APS buses. Then another 12,500 was allocated for transportation, which is charter buses, and then 12,500 allocated for dues and admission. Now, when it comes to transportation, I'm going to say on average, the average trip for one bus is about $300 to $400. The average cost for a charter bus is about $3,000. So that right there is pretty much telling you how much we have and how many trips we can go on and opportunities with the amount that has been allocated. Especially on charter buses, that's pretty much like 3 buses, if you look at it, or 3 or 4 trips, depending on how many scholars go. Next, again, to our goal here is to support the needs of teachers to make sure scholars are learning. So a large portion of that was for tools to enhance instruction. That includes teaching and instructional supplies. So anything that the teachers may need, from bulletin board paper to regular paper, to anything that they use in their classroom will be under that line. Glue, pencils, notebooks, under that line, and that 23,100 is for the entire school year. Also, textbooks that are focused on instruction. Of course, there are courses where additional readings may have to be done, so we need to allocate those funds. Books for teachers PD and contracted services for PD. So the instructional supplies, 23,100. Textbooks for instruction, 1,500. Books for teachers PD, 1,500. And contracted services for PD, 2,500. The next slide you will see, we did not have any personnel changes because we did not have a decrease in funding. So there are no shifts in personnel, but all of our changes and updates are non-personnel. Oh, the money. Now, and I may have to zoom out. These are all of the non-personnel changes that were made. So to include, again, I did focus on those teacher stipends, athletic stipends, student transportation, both charter buses and APS buses, student admissions, student admissions, teaching and other supplies, instructional equipment and furniture. That was only 5,000, and that's for 2 tables to go in our esports lounge. Contracted services for instruction, that was highlighted on the previous slides. Dues and fees for instructional staff, that's $2,500 just for courses or things of that nature, or any trainings that it may need. But again, that's $2,500. Okay, Ms. Boston, I'm gonna have to stop sharing to do that.
I was over here squinting my eyes so hard.
That's why I'm trying to, because the adjustment in the screen. But I'm going to share the link so y'all can go to that page yourself if you're following along, just so you can see that information as far as the exact numbers. There's only 1 or 2 numbers that's not included from the screen that was shown previously, but at this time, for those who may not have the best eyesight like myself when it comes to small numbers, I'm about to drop the entire presentation in the slide for you so you can have access to it. So let me start sharing right quick. Let me drop the link into the slide and see if,
Thank you.
let me know. That may still be the dress code policy. I think it, hold on, let me go back to the link, share, copy link. Okay, now the link was just placed in for you all. And I'll go back to my original slide. While you're looking at that, you all let me know if you have access, because that is the last slide, the non-personnel changes, and those are the numbers that have been allocated. Are you all able to open the link?
Yeah, sorry, I had to go back. Yes, I'm in it.
And y'all could see, and if I need to share it from the actual document, let me know. I just tried to line those up with the prices, the costs. Can you see those numbers that are associated with
What,
those?
Ms. McCall, what email did you include me in that share? Which email address did you use?
I didn't, I just made the link to whereas anybody, so if you look in the chat.
Okay, got you. Yeah, I got you.
The numbers are off the screen, but we can see them, or I can see them.
And again, let me stop sharing because I can go to the actual leveling sheet if necessary. And then after that, we'll move on to our last portion. Let me go to the leveling document.
When it says security on here, what kind of security? Is that the updating the cameras and stuff?
Yes, that's the updating, that's the safety and security grant. So even when I show you this, and I'm going to try to make sure there's no personnel or, okay. So I'm about to share this screen and hopefully you all can see this document. This is the actual document that I did the cut and paste from. Are you all able to see that?
Yes.
Okay, now, so this is the actual document that you all have in front of you, and I'm going to enlarge it. Now, these are where the numbers came from. So again, if we look at this, and I'm going to scroll up, and this, again, our projection was 626. We had a day 15 enrollment of 631. That was a difference of 5 students. Now, those 5 students being worth $5,334, that's that change of $26,670 you see. And that was on that initial gray screen under that 133,606. Next, you will have the school reserve funds at that $52,525. Then you had the Title I adjustment at the $9,411. The safety and security grant, as listed and denoted, was included in this. So that gave us the adjustment of $133,606. Now, again, we didn't have any personnel changes. There were no position changes, but the non-salary changes. These are the numbers that you all see. Again, the teacher stipends, $6,000 for teacher stipends, $3,000 for athletic. Student transportation, APS buses, $12,500. Charter buses, $12,500. That includes charter buses and breeze cards. But our bulk was spent on charter buses. We did not write any breeze cards last year, but those are the things can be accounted for in that account. Student admissions, $12,500. Teaching and other supplies, $23,100. Instructional equipment and furniture, again, those are the 2 tables for the esports room. Dues and fees signature program, $4,006. Contracted services for instruction, $2,500. Dues and fees instructional staff, $2,000. Books other than textbooks for instruction, $1,500. Books other than textbooks for PD, $1,500. Dues and fees administrative staff, $500. Now it says postage. The only reason this says postage because there was not a drop down allocation on this sheet to actually write, or as you can see, there was nothing that said safety and security grant. So that 45,000 is not allocated for stamps. On the side, you can see it says safety and security. So that's the only reason, because again, in the document provided, there was nowhere for safety and security, but we had to denote that grant. So in order to do that, and they told us to put a note on the side for what it was for. And a secretary overtime, 1,500. So once the 133,606 was allocated, most of that, a large portion being for the security grant that left us at a remaining balance of zero, or the funds were zeroed out for the reserve funds, Title I holdback, safety security funds, and for the 5 students that we increased our enrollment by. So that is what that document that I show you, I tried to make it simpler so you wouldn't have to, but that is how the funds were spent of the money that we had for our enrollment this school year at Lebanon. Can I stop sharing?
Yes, ma'am.
And are there any questions regarding Lebanon? Any more questions?
Is it a possibility that we may gain a teacher if our enrollment goes up? Is that still a possibility?
That right there is, that's it. And I'm
Okay.
going to say this. Right now, we're on a steady trend. And when I say a steady trend, and we're seeing other students come in, and we're starting to get more students. So if we can maintain our enrollment, I am certain that maintain or increase, I'm more than certain that we will receive our teachers back. I can say, I believe Long is in a good place because a lot of schools were below their projections. So we are in a good place being 5 above because there are a lot of schools below. So I think we're seeing an influx of, again, of students coming in each day. So I think that number, and Ms. Boston, I think if we continue on that trend, we'll be possibly able to gain our teachers back. Last and certainly not least, I would like to acknowledge the great things that are going on here at Long Middle School. There are not enough PowerPoint slides to just celebrate the great things that we have going on. I will show you just a few of them. If I missed anything, blame it to, I know I did, because again, there's so many things that we have going on. There's no way I can capture everything. But I would like to say, and just kudos to the faculty and staff members that we have here. Kudos to the team, because everyone seems as if they're invested. And in order for us to get the moves that we need to make, everyone is going to have some form of investment. Are we perfect? Far from it. But are we building that team capacity to everyone have a clear understanding of what we're trying to do? I certainly believe that. So here's some great things going on at Long Middle School. And then, again, these are just a small few. Crawford Long Middle School and Dr. Jones were named 2 of the APS Equity Champs for the school year. Unfortunately, I cannot invite the entire Crawford Long Middle School team, but we will be recognized in October. At the board, I was only able to invite one person, and I just feel as if that another administrator should go, but at the same time, somebody who nominated. I tried to invite more than one, but we will have our own celebration at some point to recognize the great work that's being done here. We have officially launched our partnership with Hartsfield Airport. There are some great things they're going to be doing for us on a monthly basis, but just randomly. Also, Perfective Farms, Dr. White. Thank you, because right now our goal is to have our spring farmers market. Dr. White has been very intricate alongside Mr. Murphy in making sure the steps that need to be taken to ensure our area is prepared for the farmers market in the spring, that we're doing that. So kudos to them. Thank you again, Reverend Dr. White. Grandparents' Day. We have a new parent liaison, but I can say she's coming in and she's jumped in with the work. She had her first official event. She just recognized the parents beyond our open house, and it was dynamic. We had several grandparents here. We had grandparents to fly in from Florida. We had them from New York. So we had grandparents coming in. So I think that was a great success. Also, kudos to our dynamic counseling team. As always, our counseling team, they should never be underestimated because they're always going to bring the highest level of culture building activities to the school. And our HBC week was just another one of those dynamic things that they're doing. And I can also say that it really felt like homecoming. It was a running joke that on Friday was homecoming, but every day of the week felt like homecoming, because just to see the staff, the culture that was built. Ms. Hall, Dr. Jones said it was homecoming on Friday, inside joke, you understand? But just to see the dynamics of them people just coming together. And I would say sometimes we work in silos in education, but to see different grade levels coming together, regardless of the organization, regardless if you went to a HBCU or a PWI, I think it speaks volume of the culture that we're building here, but at the same time, the level of support we're providing to each other in the building. So great job, kudos to our dynamic counseling team and the great things that they continue to do on a day-to-day basis. Also, kudos to Mr. Chair himself and our STEM and science instructional coach, Mr. Murphy. He's truly full steam ahead when it comes to STEM. Several opportunities across curricula, not only PBLs, but opportunities to involve the counseling department, opportunities to involve the connections teachers. We have a lot of opportunities that have been afforded through our STEM instructional coach. So kudos to Mr. Murphy. Also, I'm proud to say that we have officially received our furniture. We officially have all gaming consoles. And so Long Middle School will have an official esports lounge coming soon. I think right now we just have to wait on small things such as painting and things of that nature. But we are on the road to have an official esports lounge and team. Now, before I transition, team updates. Do anyone on the loan team have any updates of things you would like to share? Also, shout out to our football team and softball team. Whether you're undefeated or whether you're still pushing to make sure you get to that undefeated level, kudos to our fall sports teams alongside our cheerleading coach, Ms. Porti, because our kids are out there looking good and they're working hard. Do we have any more updates from the Crawford Loan team of great things that are going on in our school?
Yes, I would like to beat Miss Boston to it and Mr. Murphy. We are having our 8th grade parent night next Thursday, along with our data meeting. During that 8th grade parent meeting, we will discuss homecoming. We will discuss dues. We will discuss graduation. We will discuss everything that you need for your 8th grade to prosper at Crawford Long Middle School.
Okay,
I'm done, Miss Boston.
Let me just jump in because 8th grade loves to take it as their night. The night is officially called the academic tailgate. So it's grades 6 through 8. All parents are invited. We will also have our Title I meeting. We will also have curricular instructional resources for home because parents, we know that a lot of times you don't have anything to work with your babies with. So we're going to make sure our instructional coaches provide you with documentation as far as your students' MAP scores alongside instructional resources to use at home to support the scholars. So yes, 8th grade team, our dynamic 8th grade team, they will be presenting their information. So parents, you can get information regarding our 8th grade activities, but our official activity, the academic tailgate, will happen on next week, September 26th from 5:30 to 7. And of course, at a tailgate, food will be provided. So we will see you on September 26th. Thank you, Ms. Boston and Ms. Hall, for taking over for 8th grade with all of the meetings.
Will childcare be provided if I need to bring my toddler?
Okay, we are a family school. So that means that staff members, if you have your own children and you need to bring them in order to come back, do so. I will say we are limiting our parents because we need to make sure that we have enough supplies for everyone and enough seating. So when it comes to the students, we're limiting to 2 individuals per household to ensure that all scholars and everyone has representation, but at the same time, everyone is able to be accommodated. So we are limiting 2 per household.
Also, too, I would like to add, we are in the, oh God, I think I'm tired. The STEAM team, we met with a couple teachers and we met with a person from the district who reached out, a dietitian from the district, and she is actually writing a grant for a composting center for the school. She found out that we actually had a garden that our garden was a part of our school theme, and so she was interested. She reached out to us, met with her, we showed her the grounds, and so now she's writing us into a grant to get a composting center, and that will be awarded to us second semester. So a lot of things are going on with STEAM. People are reaching when you're doing the work, people reach out to you. And so that's what's happening. When they see the great things that the school is doing,
Amen.
people reach out to you. So we just got to keep that same momentum because a lot of great things are going here, as I expressed to many people. So that was my only update. I can stop talking.
Go, Miss Boston. Go, Miss Boston. Hurry up before she says ending.
All I'm going to say is that Hispanic Heritage Month started on Monday. Miss Dionise had a parade for our Hispanic population, and the kids had a wonderful time. She said their energy was so great. They were running around with their flags in the room before the parade started. So it was great energy before the parade and during the parade. And it will surmise at our homecoming pep rally on October 11th, where we'll have a dance contest. So the children will be celebrated for the whole month of Hispanic Heritage Month from September 16th to October 16th. Well, of course, that's during our break, but nonetheless, so we got that going on too.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Boston, for doing my part in the team project, because that was my last
I'm
announcement.
sorry.
I was going to finish out to really celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, but you did my part on the project, but I'm still going to do my part. Again, to piggyback Ms. Boston, great job, Ms. Delnice. Everyone that supported our scholars were fantastic. Of course, Hispanic Heritage Month spans from September 15th through October 15th. We have several events planned. Ms. Delnice has an entire list of activities to take place. So please make sure that we are in support of our Hispanic scholars and inclusiveness. And I will say they were so excited in the parade. I know that is this the second year did we do the parade previously?
Yes, we did it last
We
year.
did it before
last year.
COVID, but I think COVID stopped it. So this was our second year doing it again.
We
So
did
yeah.
it last year.
Okay. And as you all can see, each year the number that are participating in the parade is getting larger and larger. And the great part about it is that we're able to expose our scholars to individuals who they may not even think have Hispanic heritage, but they're unfamiliar. So I think at the same time we're acknowledging, but at the same time we're teaching our scholars about the Hispanic heritage. So kudos to everyone, and happy Hispanic Heritage Month to all of our scholars and their families at Long Middle School.
Okay, here's the scary question. Does anyone have any more announcements?
Final announcement on the screen. Join us on Saturday, September 28th. All Go Team members are invited, but plan to have at least 3 members of your Go Team team. I need y'all to look at that date. If you are available to attend, it's at Tag Academy from 8:30 to 2:30. Please let us know or email me so we can make sure we have representation.
What's that date again?
September 28th, next Saturday.
Is it a whole day? Like it's not session
8:30
1
a.m. to 2:30 p.m.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I was talking to Mr. McCall. Mr. McCall.
8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
I think I can go. I think I can attend, Ms. McCall.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will actually see, is it mandatory that we stay the entire time frame? Because I know sometimes people may have things already planned.
Right.
Possibly a rotation.
Yeah.
So I will reach out to see.
Okay.
I'll be doing concessions at our football game until like
So you're out, Boston. Yeah, you're out, Boston.
Go, Murphy, go.
Okay, all right, adjournment. We have reached the end of the agenda. Is there any
You already said
any
that.
additional business at this time? Okay, great. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion that we adjourn this meeting at 7:49 p.m.
Do I have a second?
I second, 7:49 p.m.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
All opposed, raise your hand.
Aye.
No, you're not opposed, Miss.
Oh,
no,
you can't vote.
Oh.
Any abstentions? Please raise your hand. Okay. Oh, And this time, the secretary will note the names of members making motions, second motion, and how.
You don't gotta read that.
All right, meeting is adjourned.
Bye, y'all.
Along, we will be calling you. We see your comments, so we will be calling.
Yes, I'm gonna check on that tomorrow, Miss Cologne, with our counselors. Don't think I forgot, because we take that very serious and we
Yes.
talk about it during our SEL moments. I don't want you to feel like it's not being addressed. It's being addressed because we have SEL. So we address it, and I'll make sure that we do something about it, because I forgot that it was Suicide Awareness Month. I really thought it was October. I'm sorry.
Okay,
No,
Miss McCool, don't forget to send me an email about next Saturday.
Okay, I will.
Update.
You can put that in your calendar, Miss White. She just told you.
It's in my calendar, Miss Missy. I was talking to Miss McCool, Miss Missy.
Everybody have a good
Almanac.
Yeah, have a good night. Love y'all. Be safe.
I'll see y'all in 5 hours at San
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, have a good night. Love y'all. Be safe.
I'll see y'all in 5